All right, welcome. We got this week's Feature Friday, and I'm excited to introduce Troy Lowe, class of 2002, as well as Spring '02 in my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. Welcome, Troy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, first off, tell us, for the people who don't know a little bit about you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Yeah, we know you're class of '02. What's your current occupation? Where are you originally from? Things of that sort.
Originally from born in Westmoreland County, Virginia, so I still represent the hometown, but did most of my growing up in Clinton, Maryland, basically Prince George's County, Maryland, a little bit in Upper Marlboro, till I, left for the beautiful Queen City in Charlotte, North Carolina, to John C. Smith University.
Nice.
But for the most part, I'm a DMV type of kid.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. And what are you doing now in your career?
Yeah. I'm currently an attorney, private sector. Been doing that for actually December 19 marked my 10-year anniversary of being admitted to the bar.
Nice.
Loving that. And as you said, spring 2002, Kappa Alpha Psi, Alpha Epsilon.
Hey, you gotta throw it in there. I'm gonna throw it in
100%, 100%.
there. AE. All right. So tell us. I mean, that's fantastic. Now, you played ball in school, right?
I did, actually. Yeah. I played 3 out of my 4 years. I played the whole. I mean, I was on the team the whole 4 years, but actually I was sidelined my 4th year with a concussion that wouldn't take anymore.
Okay. Hey, understand that. So tell us about that, because that's a fascinating career path. You entering the law. How'd you get into law? How'd you know you were looking to get into the profession, and what brought you down that path?
Ironically, I couldn't say. It's not one of those scenarios where it was my dream. I didn't want to be Matlock or Perry Mason, even Johnny Cochran as a teenager. I really didn't have it until probably, I guess, basically when I knew football was coming to an end. I had to figure out something, and I still didn't know. I'm relatively a non-traditional student. I graduated at 22, but I didn't start law school until 25. I'm out of law school. I got a job with the FBI in counterterrorism. Obviously, that time frame was a lot of post 9/11 activity. So when I was with the Bureau under contract, I was doing a lot of special investigations. So I had day-to-day interactions with attorneys. But come to find out later, it was presented to me. My mother, she said, you always talked about law school. And my mother found this article in the Washington Post, and it was advertising Georgetown University's paralegal program. And she says, well, look, this is about $5,000. Law school is about $125,000. She said, why don't you make this small investment to see if you're still interested? And I says, well, okay. So I did that for a year. I was working full time at the Bureau. So I was taking night classes for about 9 months.
Okay.
And then I got the paralegal certificate, and it kind of fostered. I'm like, man, this is really, really cool. And I told my supervisors I was considering law school. At the time, I was thinking maybe I apply locally and go part-time because I really did love what I was doing at the Bureau, the investigations. But I didn't want to stop, so I figured I'd do a part-time scenario. And the application process didn't really pan out as far as part-time. It was like, hey, you're going to go full time. And ironically, I did get waitlisted at a local school. I won't name schools here other than the one I went to. I did get waitlisted, but by the time I would have had to have made a commitment, I could have waived my immediate acceptance to where I actually ultimately went.
Okay.
But nevertheless, my mother, she knew me well. She said, hey, look, your hometown, you went away to college, you need to go away for law school. You don't focus well locally.
Mama knows best, right?
100%, and she was 2,000% right. So yeah, I went on to the Midwest.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't a traditional path. I thought that law school would bring me back to the Bureau. I even had a couple of kind of gentleman handshakes and commitments to, if you graduate at this level and so on and so forth, we already know your work product or at least your work ethic. But unfortunately, I actually graduated in 2008.
Okay.
It was at the height of the financial crisis. I go back to my guys and they say, hey, there's a hiring freeze. So I don't have a job to give you if I wanted to, which I wanted to, but
well,
so the competition was fierce around that time.
Here's the thing, man. It sounds like you're born in of the most difficult times. So times like this, at least, this being recorded in the middle of the social pandemic. I don't know what you want to call it, the social distancing pandemic, COVID pandemic, but this is where iron really sharpens at this time. And I remember you posted a Facebook post about it, saying either you're gonna have a side hustle coming out of this or something, you know, in terms of making some success out of yourself. So that's my belief. I launched my business in 08, and that it just sharpens you on that. So tell me, you came out difficult times. What are some of the challenges that you've had in terms of launching your career?
Well, in the immediate effect, that was one of the largest challenges. Was the job market at the time.
Yeah.
And it was specifically at the time. I mean, first of all, it was so fierce, the competition. I applied back at the DOJ. At the time, I was there was a little lapse. I didn't take when I graduated in September. I graduated in the fall of 08, so I didn't sit for the bar until July.
Okay.
And they offer you a winter and a summer session. So I waived the winter session, started working, started applying. I applied for a law clerk position, and I literally made it down between me and another candidate. And come to find out, I basically got beat out by a guy who had been admitted to practice. He was an attorney for over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how are you? You're applying for law clerk positions. These are traditionally reserved for law school graduates, pending bar results. So that was a little bit of endurance that I got from. I would say I took it all from Smith. Half of it from football, half of it from my beloved Kappa Alpha Psi. But just to endure, I had to wait it out. I played football in college, so the student loan thing was a surprise. When I graduated, those loans didn't wait, so I had to go to work. So it caught me off guard. I wish they had football in law school. But it was just, wait it out, and, apply. My mother used to tell me when you graduate, she told me straight out of college that, the degree itself is only half the battle. So it's like finding a job is a job in itself. Mm-hmm. So it didn't work out immediately. I actually, when that didn't work out, I had to re-trigger some of my experience from the Bureau. I actually was an investigator during the 2010 decennial census.
Okay.
Leading up to, so I had to use some skills that I had previously gained just to make do, and I was doing that full time at the Census Bureau here in Suitland, Maryland, and while studying for the bar. So I was taking bar prep and working full time. I literally, anyone who's from Maryland will know, the Census Bureau is adjacent to the Suitland Metro. So I would get on the Metro every evening and head out to Catholic University to do for my bar prep class.
Oh man,
but the hardest part in I would say, I guess, becoming an attorney is kind of phased. Is getting past that bar. A lot of people run into headbutts with the bar exam itself. They're making some modifications now. Keep in mind, I took it over 10 years ago. And again, this particular portion of my response it's a whole nother interview in of itself, bar prep. So I won't go down that lane too far, but you just have to endure and believe in the training. You pretty much have to, and I'll tell you this, and I'll be done with that one. One of my law professors, on the eve of our first semester of final exams, he actually said, it was a criminal law professor, I'll never forget him. He said, and I actually tell this to upcoming students, he said, all of your life, you've done what you needed to do to get to this point. There's no reason to believe you won't do it tomorrow.
Nice.
And so it's been that endurance. And, as I progressed in my career, when I came out of the government, I went, actually, when I passed the bar, I did get back into DOJ, but I was a law clerk doing doc review, things of that nature. It was just so hard to find a job at the time.
Okay, so fast forward to today. What are you doing now? What type of practices are you practicing now? Private practice, all right?
Say again?
You're in private practice now, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm at a small firm here, and I'm actually in Anne Arundel County now, in Glen Burnie, Maryland. I'm at a small office, 3 attorneys, and 3 administrative support staff, allocated for each lawyer. But yeah, I do domestic, which encompasses custody support, child support, divorce, protective orders. I do personal injury, which is generally what most people think. If you don't get paid, we don't get paid. Car accidents, slip and falls, premises liability, products liability, things of that nature, and also bankruptcy,
Okay.
chapter 7s and 13.
Okay, nice, nice. And how did you make that transition into private practice from the old DOJ kind of FBI experience?
That's a story. I have to actually be delicate on that one.
We didn't. We'll skip.
I literally I have to dance because of the audience. I will just say this: an old friend. Hello, old friend. I'm sure you'll bump into this. An old friend reached out to me about some assistance on a private matter. I went to the COTAR, which is the contracts officer.
Yeah.
At DOJ, and to say, if I take a state case, am I in conflict with my contract obligation? He says, as long as it's not against the federal government. I says, okay. So I took the case, and it was a small matter. I won't get into detail. And, obviously I got paid for it. And I kind of heard through the grapevine what the company I worked for, what they were charging for me versus what I was getting paid. So it made all the difference in the world. And I thought to myself, hey, if this is what they do in private practice, I think I'm gonna jump ship. I laid the groundwork over 13, 14 months. I had a full-time job. So every time I would take a private case, I'd let the COTAR know. And the beauty of that is I didn't have to take out loans again. So I had a job, and the money I was making, I guess, on a side hustle, which most lawyers would tell you there is no side hustle in the private practice of law. It was probably risky at the time, but I was pretty well focused with it. So whatever money I made, I saved.
No risk, no reward.
That basically got me enough money to buy my first 6 months of a lease at my first private office.
Nice, man. That's a fascinating story. Good for you on that. So what's the ultimate career goals right now? What's the next step in your career progression?
Like I said, I really never said, most people think, hey, Troy, you want to be a judge, and maybe. I haven't clearly identified that, but even if I did, I wouldn't want it to happen. I'm 40 now. I just crossed over. I've been practicing for almost 10 years, but I've just crossed over into actual adult lawyer, mature lawyer status. I have been a rising star on the Reuters list for the last 4 years in a row. And I'm asking my colleagues, hey, how do I get to be super lawyer from rising star? Come to find out you just have to turn 40. Okay. And still perform, I guess. But I think where I'm going now is, as I said, I'm in Anne Arundel County. And I hope I don't splash too big, but I would like to have a multi-member, when I say multi, I mean at least 15-member minority law firm here in the state of Maryland. That's my before I turn 50 goal.
Okay.
So I usually measure my goals. I set my objectives 5 to 10 years, 3 to 5 to 10 years out.
All right. Nice.
So yeah, my 10-year goal right now is that's where I'm working in. Like I said, we're at 3 right now at our office and still building.
Okay. And how could, if young alums or anybody else needs any kind of legal advice, how do they get in contact with you to hire you for your services?
Well, you can always email me. I'm at, my name's Troy Lowe. So my email is tlowe, LOWE, @mdlawfirm.net. They could always call the office, 410-787-0007. During this time, most offices are working remotely, so I get all messages forwarded. That might not be a direct call so much as a call back. During the course of the pandemic, it's probably easier to email. But I'm also on Facebook under my name, Troy Lowe. Instagram, Troy Lowe Esquire, or ESQ, not spelled out. But yeah, most people know how to find me one of those 3 to 4 ways.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Now, in terms of talking to the young, I consider ourselves, it's kind of weird. I consider ourselves like the middle ground. Like there's people that we've looked up to, but now there's young kids who are coming out trying to figure this all out. So what advice would you give to them, you know, kids coming out of school, a couple years out, there's pandemic. What advice would you give them coming behind you in terms of how to get to the place that you are right now?
Well, and then, like I said, I prefer the term seasoned as opposed to old head yet. But you know, I'm actually, I'm
still have hair. I just chalked it up, man. I'm like, oh, man. When I let this go, I got grades coming in and everything, so I'm an old head.
Oh yeah, well that's why I try to keep it low to avoid the gray. But yeah, I'm not quite old head yet, but I'm still actually trying to fill the shoes of some of my mentors. Trying to, it was said, can't remember the quote, but not the quote, but the source. But I think I picked it up in 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. But basically, to be great, you follow in the path of those who have been great. And that's my own paraphrase of the quote. But so I'm still mentoring. So that actually kind of answers the question. That guided my path. I had mentors immediately. If you're a young lawyer, for instance, find your local bar association. It could be awkward at first, but at least here in my hometown and colleagues that I've spoken to from where I graduated from Thomas Cooley, which is Western Michigan University Cooley now. I had colleagues all over the country, and they've told me the same thing: mentors, mentors, mentors. So those like you and me, or you and I, probably have to be willing to be mentors, because my mentors guided me from a lot of landmines. Man, in your industry, I know you have ethical standards, and so you don't know what you don't know. But a lot of our people are willing to pay it forward or pay it back, I guess, when you reach down and bring up the next generation. I have some phenomenal lawyers in my area who 10 years in, I can still call. So I would say the number one tactic would be to reach out, find a mentor, find someone. If you're in anywhere within the shot of my voice, if you're a lawyer or an upcoming lawyer, feel free to use any one of those contacts I gave to reach out. If you're looking for a mentor, it may not be me. Maybe we can help you find someone in your area. I've had some alum from Smith reach out. Some of our younger fraternity brothers reach out, and I put them on the best path I could. But mentorship and being a mentee, I would say, especially in professions where licensure is required, find someone. There's always someone who's willing to help you, especially to guide you through the landmines that maybe they fell into. They can help you to avoid. But mentorship, and I would say just endurance. No easy path anymore. There are way more lawyers than there probably need to be, but they exist nevertheless. There's a ton of lawyers. I wouldn't say not a ton of great lawyers. But yeah, I would say mentorship and endurance, and be patient if you can.
Okay. All right. Nice. Any closing thoughts you want to leave out to the alumni?
No, just I want to thank you. Actually, this is a phenomenal program you've established, and I'm super honored to be a part of it. I mean, I am. Sometimes life gets in the way, but anyone who knows me, at least if they know me through Smith, they know it is near and dear to my heart. And so I'm honored that you have prompted me, invited me to start a direct line of giving back, other than just writing a check every year. But no, I again just thank you, and thank the classes, and again, it is people like you who kind of led me, even though you only got me by about 4 years, and that's only in academic years. I'm not even sure if you got me in years, but
I'm only 2. I'm class of 2000.
Okay,
I graduated early, but I appreciate it. Yeah, the whole point is the whole point of this was just trying to link up the younger generation with the older generation, and really
Absolutely.
putting people like yourself in front of the other folks who, because quite frankly, I mean, you might see a spike in divorces after all of this. Like, so you might be handling a lot of business, because this is, all this is difficult. So we want to make sure that we're promoting our own, that people we know we have these resources, and we just need to organize it and have people like yourself. in front of our great alumni base to serve.
And if I could, I would give one more quick shout out. Not gonna say his name, but and this is the beauty of the love of a Smithite. When I was in law school, I was an officer and a member of BALSA, which is BLSA, the Black Law Students Association, and we were doing community service. We were at one of the local churches doing a food drive. This is in Lansing, Michigan, and I'm just, working with the community members and so on and so forth. And I can't remember how it came up that I went to Johnson C. Smith. And a lady taps me and she says, my husband went to Johnson C. Smith. He was class of 67. And he would love to meet you. He was a complete stranger. I'm not from Michigan. And I ended up at their house for Thanksgiving dinner. And literally, anytime I wanted a home cooked meal, anytime I just needed a breath away from the monotony, away from the stress, I could go to a Smithite's house. And that was Michigan. Lansing was almost 12-hour drive away from me. So I think it was 612 miles, somewhere thereabouts. This was years ago, but it was a Smithite who wrapped their arms around me, who never laid eyes on me. And it was a Smithite's wife who said, my husband would like to meet you. So, that's what it means. And again, I think everyone, I know people from other HBCUs who would say the same, but that's love. And I'll never forget that. And I'm glad that you and I are of a generation who want to offer that to those who come behind.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And I can second that, because my wife went to a major typical standard university. And she was just like, when she's in the fold, she's like, oh my God, this is nothing like we've ever seen. So she operates in that same manner, representing the gold and blue. Well, Troy, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure to get you in front of as many young alumni as possible and try to be that mentor. All right.
Thank you for your time, bro.
All right, man. Take care.
Be blessed. Y'all stay safe out there.